On today's episode of Locked On Mariners, the second half of the season is here, and reinforcements are starting to arrive as the Mariners look to make it 15 wins in a row in front of a sold-out crowd at T-Mobile Park tonight. We'll get you set for this weekend series against the Astros and make some predictions for the second half of the year coming up. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Friday, July 22nd, 2022. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Locked On Mariners podcast, brought to you by BetOnline today. BetOnline has you covered all season long with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms with new episodes every Monday through Friday. I am your host, Santana Gonzalez, joined as always by my co-host, Colby Patnode. We cover the Mariners over at InsideTheMariners.com for Fan Nation over on the Sports Illustrated Network. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at LO_Mariners. Follow Inside the Mariners at Inside Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DaneGnzlz, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. Be sure to also check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/Control the Zone. We post 2 additional podcasts on there every single week. Again, that is patreon.com/Control the Zone. And if this is your first time joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, welcome to the show. If you like what you hear, give us a follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to this. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Again, we are working towards our goal of 2,411 subscribers, 24 for Griffey, 11 for Edgar, by the August 2nd trade deadline. And if we get there, we're giving away a signed Mitch Haniger card. So if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Please tell your friends, anyone who you know who is a Mariners fan, or even if they're not Mariners fans, just tell them to subscribe anyway. Let's do it. All right, so we are back. Baseball is back. It is amazing because this week has just dragged along because the All-Star break, and then the last couple days the Mariners haven't been playing any baseball. A lot of teams were playing yesterday to make up some of the games lost because of the lockout, or the games rather delayed because of the lockout. And we just kind of, sat from above watching as everyone else was having fun, like Squidward in that one SpongeBob meme. But the Mariners are back tonight, and it's going to be a very, very fun night at T-Mobile Park. One, they are revealing the 2023 All-Star Game logo. And, of course, they're going to be doing that in front of a sold-out crowd at T-Mobile Park. So I'm sure some of you listening right now are maybe on your way to the ballpark or getting ready to go to the ballpark, or maybe you're leaving the ballpark now. We're going to get you set for the entire weekend series for the Mariners and the Astros. We're also going to go over some over-unders for the second half of the season in this show. But I think we should start with the big news heading into the series for the Mariners. Kyle Lewis is back, reinstated from the 7-day concussion list. Justin Upton optioned to Tacoma and has elected free agency. So the Justin Upton Mariners era has finally come to an end. We'll always have that one home run. We'll always have that one home run. Dang. So Kyle Lewis is back. He played a little bit of outfield during his rehab stint, but not a ton. He was still DHing quite a bit. What should expectations be here for Kyle Lewis coming back into the fold?
That he plays 2-3 times a week, mostly at DH. It's just, I'd love to be optimistic, and I've often been called a pessimist on this show by suggesting that reality is what it is, but we have very little evidence to suggest that Kyle Lewis can handle multiple games, full games in left field, let alone playing out there 2-3 times a week and then, DHing 2 times on top of that. So I think he's primarily your DH for going forward. I would, if you get 1 game a week out in left field for a little while, then I think that's probably the best you can hope for. They'll work it in, they'll work it around Carlos Santana, who's definitely going to get at bats, and we'll see how long Mitch Haniger is in pizza rehab, but it's I don't think you can expect Lewis to play more than 3 times a week. Maybe pinch hit here and there, but I think for the most part, when he's off for the day.
Mhm.
And so I think what you're going to see is they'll play matchup. They'll look for, and it's not just going to be lefty righty. They're going to look for specific pitch types and things like that. So he might start tonight. He might start against Verlander. And even though Valdez, the lefty, is starting on Sunday, he might not face him just because of the matchup or
Mhm.
because they don't want to use him 3 days in a row. So we'll see how it looks. Well, in the 4 games he was up, he looked fine in the batter's box. It wasn't really running that hard. But when you put him back out in the outfield, a lot more things can go wrong. So we'll
Sure.
see what happens. I would suspect that he probably, I'm going to say he's going to play in the outfield tonight, actually. I
Ooh.
think they'll want to get Santana in the lineup as the DH
Mhm.
or first base, depending on how Ty France feels. So I think we'll see Lewis in the outfield tonight. Then we'll probably see him at DH tomorrow. And then I bet he has Sunday off, would be my guess.
Yeah, Justin Verlander starting tomorrow, and of course
Well,
that is Kyle
you gotta
Lewis's
let the
son.
son. Yeah, you gotta let the son pitch to the dad. I have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you mentioned Carlos Santana a moment ago, and I'm going to call a little bit of an audible here. We'll talk more about the series in just a moment, but I mean, have you seen Carlos Santana's baseball savant page lately? My word. People have been sharing this around on Twitter over the last, I don't know, 24 hours or so. And this guy right now, I mean, there's just so much red on this baseball savant page. Let me see if I can actually bring this up on the screen. We'll see if I can do this real quick before, because this, you guys you got to see this. You got to see this. Look at this. Do I have this on the screen yet? No. Here it is. There we go. Boom. Look at it. Look at all the red. Look at all the red. Look at it. Look at it. It's so red. Is Carlos Santana elite?
I mean, no, if you guys are just listening and not watching, 79th percentile average exit velocity, 75th percentile hard hit rate, 88th percentile ex WOBA, 88th percentile K percentage, 99th percentile walk percentage, 75th percentile whiff percentage, 98th percentile chase rate, and believe it or not, 63rd percentile and outs above average. So, yeah, that seems significantly higher than what it was when the Mariners acquired him, which has only been 2.5 weeks ago. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been great. He's definitely he's kind of that addition that we talked about, where it's like, hey, you can't wait for Haniger and Lewis to get healthy. You have to go get somebody to help you now. And even though we weren't wild about that guy being Carlos Santana, it was, and he has been that guy. So they're still going to continue to find a way to get him at bats. I think the biggest nonsense issue, going around Mariners social media right now is, oh no, how do we get all these guys at bats? I guess Ty France has to play second base. No, no, he doesn't. He does. You're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. And I can't remember the Mariners ever having too many good bats and that being a problem. So they'll find a way to get Santana in there. Like I said, my guess is that Santana will probably play, 2 or 3 games this weekend. I would suspect we see him in there on Sunday against the lefty. He's a little bit better from the right side these days. So we'll see. Maybe today's the day he gets off. I don't know. But Santana will get plenty of at-bats. Lewis will get as many as he can handle. And that's kind of the X factor. We don't know how many he can actually handle.
Yeah. I remember saying before the Santana trade happened, about a couple of weeks before that happened, when we were saying the Mariners need to make a trade now, it was like they need to get their, 2022 version of Denard Span, basically. And I think Santana has basically been that and then some for them.
Yep.
So before we wrap up here with this segment, let me ask you, does the streak die this weekend?
Oh, probably. But it probably should have died in Texas, and it probably should have died in, not the Angels, but it probably should have died, a few times. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, of course, your odds of winning this game are not any higher because you're on a 14-game win streak. That's not a thing that exists. The good news is tonight they are facing Urquidy, and the Mariners have handled him pretty well so far this year. So we'll see. You look at the pitching matchups. they're not as lopsided as some past pitching matchups. You don't have Verlander going up against Marco, right, for example. So we'll see.
For the first time in what feels like forever, the Mariners are actually going to throw someone other than Chris Flexen at the Astros with Justin Verlander on the bump. Incredible.
Right.
Didn't know that was actually allowed to happen.
Yeah, good for Chris Flexen. He's earned it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But Verlander's really tough. Valdez is awesome. Yeah, and like we talked about this a few weeks ago, you're kind of entering the last 20 games were against really beatable teams. Last 20, 25 games, and those are teams that you should play well against. Now, 22 of 25 is exceeding expectations, but now we're entering the stretch where it's like you're going to play Houston a couple times, you're going to play the Yankees a couple times. This is where you kind of bear down and you find a way to navigate this stretch before the schedule lightens up again. So, they might get swept. They could sweep. I mean, and anything in between. Nothing's really can surprise you about this team right now. So it looks, but I do think the pitching matchups are at least more favorable than they have been in past Astro series. And hey, the Mariners have won 3 of their 4 series against Houston. So does the win streak die this weekend? Yeah, probably. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? No.
Just win series.
Yeah, just avoid disaster. And there's no reason to believe that the Mariners can't win this series against Houston. They've done it 3 times already this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go along for the ride. That's basically what you got to do with the Mariners. There's going to be ebbs and flows. They are going to lose a game at some point. It's going
maybe
to
2
happen.
in a row. Yeah.
Whoa. Don't get ahead of yourself there, bud. All right. So let's focus on the bigger picture here. Second half of the season as a whole starts tonight. The Mariners have 69 games left in the season. Nice. And we're going to be doing some over-unders over the next couple segments here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. But first, a reminder, we are brought to you today by LinkedIn. As the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day, just like you do here every single day. We greatly appreciate your support. Which NFL stars moved the betting line the most starting July 18th? Locked On gives you the 50 most valuable players in the NFL from the odds makers over at BetOnline. Available July 18th on Locked On NFL, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, just like us. So the second half begins tonight for the Mariners. The stretch to hopefully ending the 20-year playoff drought has begun. And so we are going to get in some predictions here. We're going to do some over-unders. We have 7 in total, and we're going to do a few here in this segment. We're going to do a few in the last segment, and then you'll be done with us for the weekend. So let's start with one guy that we talked about in the last segment and another guy who should be kind of following well, actually, you did mention him. You did mention him earlier. You mentioned that he is, of course, in pizza rehab. Mitch Haniger and Kyle Lewis. Can they combine for 1.5 F4? Are you taking the over or the under here?
Over, just barely though. I think it's pretty close. Just because I don't know how many games these guys can actually play. It's WAR is kind of an accumulation stat. You have to do good things well for an extended period of time. So you figure if each one names in 45-ish, I would say, then I think you're probably get like one WAR, and I think Lewis can get maybe a couple or like 0.45. So I think it's going to be pretty close, but I would take the over.
Yeah, I'll take a slight over on this one, mostly because defensive value or lack thereof is certainly going to hurt, especially if these guys are taking a lot of DH reps, because that just automatically kills your defensive value on Fangraphs if we're specifically using F4 here. But I think they end up doing maybe 1.8 to F4, hopefully beyond. I mean, it would be great if they did beyond that, but I would say maybe that they've fallen somewhere like the 1.7 to 2.3 range on the F4 scale. All right, so second one. Obviously, the Mariners' rotation has been remarkably healthy. Over under, Mariners use 6.5 starting pitchers, openers not included.
Over. It's impossible for me to imagine that the Mariners are just going to go through this entire year without one of their 5 starters missing time. I just, I think you're going to acquire a new starter anyways. I think George Kirby's going to get his starts, and then I think you are still going to have to, roll with Tommy Malone at some point for a start here or there. So I'm going to take the over. They've been incredibly lucky so far. I can't imagine that continues, because the luck they've had in their rotation health has just been incredible. So I think the Bills come due, and at some point the Mariners are going to have to grit their teeth and start Tommy Malone or Justice Schiff, somebody like that. So
and of course we're going to see the starting 5 that they've had all year over the next 5 days. George Kirby's going to get called back up. He'll be part of that. He'll start one of these games coming up here. So that's already 5 right there. We know that Jerry Dipoto is deep in the starting pitching market. So even if they stay healthy, he has talked about adding someone that can fit near the top or the middle of their rotation, and someone that can also share some innings with George Kirby at the back end as well. So that's 7 right there. So I'm going to take the over. And that's not even accounting for health, for guys getting hurt. So
right.
I think that's a clear, easy over for me. All right. Over under. Jerry Dipoto makes 2.5 trades.
Over. I'll take the over here. I think 2.5 is the right number, because I think what might happen here is I think Jerry might acquire multiple players in the same deal. Yesterday we talked about a Drury and Castillo trade. I think that might happen, and if he does that, then it's one less trade he has to make, because he's filled 2 holes in one trade. So I think he's going to acquire a starter. I think he's probably going to acquire another starter. It's probably a back end guy. It's probably somebody like Ryan Yarbrough or Drew Smiley or somebody like that. But I think he's going to acquire 2 starting pitchers, and then I don't know, call it a gut feel or whatever, but I think Whit Merrifield's going to be a Mariner here in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
I don't know why. Like I mean, their asking price last year was ridiculous, but we know the Mariners circle back on guys, and Whit Merrifield is a guy who can play center field. He can play right field. He can play second. He's even played some first. This is a guy who, can actually fill in a lot of the gaps that you have right now, including second base and backup center field. And he has some athleticism. His market is probably way down. You can probably get him for 30 cents, what the Royals said you had to give them last year, which was already like ridiculously high. But I don't know. I just gut feel, I think Whit Merrifield's probably a Mariner. And I think they're going to add at least a decent starter and a reliever. So I would take the over, but I think 2.5 is a really good number.
Yeah, I'm going to go over here and say that they make 3.
Yeah.
Because if I had my way, at least, it would be at least 3, because there are some relievers that I really like. Because again, I want them to bolster this bullpen. I think that it's really, really important here not to let that fall by the wayside. Even though the bullpen has been the best in baseball for the last 3 weeks, add to it. Please add to it. You'll thank me later. because bullpens are fickle. We don't know. We don't know. Guys could get hurt. Paul Sewald could get hurt. Diego Castillo could get hurt. Someone, one of your high leverage arms could get hurt, and then your your bullpen kind of starts to fall apart a little bit there. So get deeper there. Get deeper. On top of that, the rotation. I don't know if they're going to be able to land a Luis Castillo or Frankie Montas or what have you, but I think that they're going to land someone, if not two starting pitchers, as you said, and then they're going to add a bat. I would be shocked if they left the deadline without adding some sort of bat. I don't know if it'll be an incredibly impactful one, but someone that does help, someone that is an upgrade over, say, Abraham Toro, Adam Frazier, etc.
Right.
So I think they make at least 3 trades there, and possibly 4, maybe even 5, depending on if all the stuff that they want is just spread out across the league. All right, so final one here for this segment. Over under, Ty France records 79.5 hits, and so the reason why I put it there is because he's on his 69 game pace for this year would be 84 hits, about 84.5. So I dropped it down to 79.5. How do you feel?
That's more than a hit per game, so significantly higher than a hit per game. I will take the under. I actually think that Ty France isn't going to play as much as maybe he did last year, because they are going to want to keep Santana's bat in there at some point. And France still has the elbow thing. I know he says it's better and it looked really good in Texas, but I still think that's going to come into play. And hey, if you have a viable bat to give Ty France, 2 of every 10 games off, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, the fresher he is, the better. So I'll take the under. I don't feel good about it because I don't know how I feel about Ty France's health right now. So I'll take the under, but I mean, he could end up with 90 and I wouldn't be shocked. It'd be really pleasant. I'd be pleasantly surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked. So, but I'll take the under.
I'll take the over. It's Ty France. Okay. That's my reason, basically.
Fair enough.
It's Ty France.
It's legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the elbow is a little bit of a concern, but this is one of the best hitters in our game right now. Just pure hitter. He's going to be able to rack up hits. He's going to get multi-hit games. That's going to help. That's going to help with averaging out at more than a hit per game. So I think he gets there. I think he probably gets to what his 69 game pace is, which is about 84 and a half. So I expect big things out of him coming out of the All-Star break here. All right, so coming up, do we think Robbie Ray can keep hot? We're also going to be talking about Julio Rodriguez. Can he be a 30 home run, 40 steal guy? And then how many games are the Mariners going to win here? Right? I think that's the important question, the most important question here that's on everyone's minds, certainly on my mind. We'll be talking about that in just a moment. But real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the number one online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sporting wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, so let's hop right back into these over-unders. Colby, over-under. Robbie Ray posts a 2.5 ERA.
Over, but I also don't care about this one. ERA is a flawed stat anyways.
Sure.
That's a lot to ask because at that point what you're asking him is to basically be a number one for 4 months out of 6. I don't know if I see that, but this one is the low stakes one. I don't care because if he's at 2.51, is that dramatically different than if he's at 2.48? No. No. So I'll take the over, but also I don't, to be honest, I don't really care. Just pitch well.
Sure. I'll take the over, but I'll say that he lands somewhere under 3. I think he can be a sub 3 guy for the rest of the way. Just after seeing what he's been able to do over the last month, of course, ERA doesn't factor in fielding and stuff like that. That's why it is a flawed stat. So some of that could be completely out of Ray's hands. There could be a blow up start or two that certainly inflates things as well. And then he pitches great outside of that. But yeah, so I would say, just knowing though what he's been able to do here, how the sinker has played really well for him and has given him basically a more sustainable repertoire. I think he's going to be able to stay in that range. All right, so over under, Julio Rodriguez hits 13 and a half home runs and steals 18 and a half bases. So you can do the over under for each of these categories. It's not for both. But basically the question in a more simplified form is, do you think Julio Rodriguez finishes with 30 home runs and 40 steals?
No, I think he finishes with 30 home runs. I don't think he's going to steal 18 and a half bases. Fun note on Julio Rodriguez, he has attempted just one stolen base since July 5th. So I don't know if that's just, because he's hitting home runs, he's not on first base as often. I don't know if that's an intentional game plan thing. I don't know if Julio is maybe got a sore wrist or a sore, ankle or something that's maybe like, let's not push this. And so I don't know. So it's definitely possible that Julio comes out and he just starts running like a wild man in the second half. But the fact that he's attempted one stolen base, he was caught stealing, by the way, in the last 17 days. I don't know, kind of makes me think that maybe there's somebody else kind of pumping the brakes on Julio a little bit to try and keep him healthy. We saw the Angels do this with Mike Trout a few years back. So I think Julio will run more. I just don't think he's getting to 40. Home runs, he seems to be on a nice little run right now. We're talking about 2.5 months. He has to hit,
14.
Yeah. I think it'll be close, but I think he can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take the over on the home runs. I'll take the under on the steals just because of like you mentioned, the volume of stolen base attempts has greatly diminished as of late. And so if that continues, I mean, there's not going to be a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, he's at 21 right now, but he's been kind of hovering around the 20 range for a while because the volume has just gone significantly down. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get enough attempts to make it happen, because he is going to get caught stealing a couple times on some of those.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think he's going to smash the home run one. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting to like 35, honestly. So,
All right.
over under, Mariners win 39 and a half games. So 40 games. 39 wins would get them back to 90 from last year. 40 gets them to 91. 41 would get them to 92, which made the playoffs last year.
Doesn't seem like it's going to take 92 to get there this year, though,
Mm-hmm.
which would make sense with the extra playoff spot.
By the way, these are great odds for the Mariners because they only have to go like 40 and 29 to get back to where they were last year. Or get back to a game better than where they were. Yeah.
Do I want to get demolished in the comments or not is the question. Because the schedule after this little 20-game stretch is quite favorable, but it's not like there aren't any tough teams on that schedule, and it's not like this 20-game stretch really isn't all that difficult. It is. So I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to say the Mariners win 59 of 69, so nobody can roast me in the I think I'll probably go ahead and I'll take the over because I think they're going to get better in the next few weeks, and because the schedule does lighten up after the next 2 weeks or so. However, I think when I say over, I'm doing like 40 or 41 wins, not 48 to 50, so so yeah, I guess I'll go over, but it's pretty close.
The Mariners are going to win 46 games in the second half of this season.
They're going to go 46 and 23.
Yes.
They're going to finish 30 some odd games over 500.
Yes. Because they're going to get significantly better here, I think. In the coming
significantly
weeks.
Better, but I mean, what do they have now? 51 wins?
Yeah, they have 51.
You think they're going to be a 97 win team? No, you don't. Get out of here. Get out of here. Ty
believe, man.
always.
The
Yeah,
schedule plus the additions that they're going to make. I'm a believer, man. I
Ty is
believe in the
always
Seattle Mariners. I believe that
Ty
the
is
Mariners are,
always aimed for mass appeal. So I'm not
the
surprised.
Mariners. Hold on. The Mariners are going to finish this season. I said this a few weeks back that there was a path to this, or about a week or so back, that there was a path to this, that the Mariners are going to finish as the third best team in the American League.
At 97 wins, you're saying they have a shot at the division.
Yeah. But they're not going to make it because the Astros are probably going to win 100 plus. I really do think that's going to happen. So,
all right, man.
but I think they make things interesting. I think
I will take the under on 96 wins. I'll tell you that
sure.
much.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. That's totally fine.
I mean, hey,
I'm
man,
probably going to get exposed here, but you know what?
I hope you're right.
I've underestimated this team so much on this show that I'm shooting a little bit.
That must suck. Yeah. As somebody who's gotten every prediction right about them, I mean,
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right, but I would not bet money on it. So
I think we're going to be here on this show in September, and there's going to come a point when we are talking about the division.
All right. I hope you're right. I
think it'll
start
be a
this
long
weekend.
shot, but I think we'll be talking about the division. Yes, it could start this weekend. This is a very big series if you want them to actually be involved.
Kind of have to sweep.
Yeah.
Because you're only going to play them, what, 7 more times?
4 more
6
times.
or 7.
3
Well,
more.
I mean, I meant this weekend too, counting this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
You kind of have to win like 6 of those. So, I mean...
Also, I just think the Astros are really good. I don't think they're actually going to compete for the division. I just think there's going to come a point where it's like, okay, maybe they're 5 back, and it's like, I don't.
You
I
like
don't know.
squint and look really closely, and you
yeah.
can kind of start to talk yourself into it.
Yeah.
I mean, great.
I think we're going to get to that point.
As long as we avoid the 1995 comparisons, I'm fine with that. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I hope you're right. I really do. I just still feels like 90 is a pretty good number.
Well, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, let us know what your over-unders are. I should have said this when we started this, but let us know what your over-unders are for all of the categories that we went over. And we'll check those out. Love to hear what you guys think, or email us if you're listening to us right now at lockedonmariners@gmail.com. So that is going to do it for this week's slate of Locked On Mariners. And thank you so much for joining us here on the show. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow Inside the Mariners at Inside Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DaneGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode, whether you're listening or watching it. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day, just like you do here every single day. Now make your second listen of the day a Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Go M's.